The Good Guy Experience.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Good Guy Experience, where the experience is always good. I'm your host, Cornelius Witherspoon, in the house, everybody. Cornelius Witherspoon. Don't shake your heads. I like the name.
I was also shaking my head because Tyrone took my spot again.
Tyrone, man.
You keep saying I just pop up.
Hey, Ty, man, I'm starting to get a little concerned. Each week you creep closer and closer to this number one box up here. For some reason, hey, what's going on here? What's going on?
No, man,
now to my right, who done forced his way to the side, Mr. Tyrone, Mr. Chocolate's in the building, baby. Seconds of chocolate.
What's up? I did not force anything. I don't force. That's toxic masculinity. I wouldn't. I want everybody to know that.
I love it. It's another topic for another time.
I'm a progressive man, right? Progressive man.
Understood. We also got in the house, Miss Royal Rain is in the house, everybody. Royal Rain, show us some love. And Black Pearl in the house, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, Black Pearl. Everybody at home, we do want to remind you, please, if you have not yet already, please go and give StreamYard permission to use your name so we don't see Facebook users just popping up every 5 minutes. We want to see the names and be able to give you credit for the great comments you give when you're participating with us here tonight. So thank you for being here with us tonight.
Unless you got warrants. You got warrants to keep that Facebook user.
We support the hidden truth.
So how was everybody's week? How was everybody's week going so far? We're here. It's hump day. It's Wednesday. How's everybody's week going?
It's been a good week. I've been out. I've been relaxing. I've tried some new drinks that I never want to try again. So yeah, I tried a vegan liquor drink and it tastes like cooked dirt.
There's vegan liquor? This is getting out of control, man.
No offense to anyone who's vegan. It tastes like cooked dirt to me, and I like tequila. So let's take a moment.
Why is liquor not? I don't. Okay.
It was
each their own, though.
Yeah. I don't know.
What about you, Miss Rain? How was your week, Miss Rain?
My week has been fabulous.
Yes.
Yes. Just stay tuned. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh,
I walk in the shadows, so when I pop out on you, you know.
Ow.
Okay.
Mr. Chocolate, what's going on with you?
Hey, so my week's been good, man. You know, I'm out with the boys, football. You know, I'm way blacker today. I feel it. I love it though. I embrace it. But you know, that sun has enhanced my chocolate to another level, and I'm cool with it.
That's right. That dark berry ain't nothing wrong with that. Wrong with that.
Well, guys, I'm in a real good mood. I mean, because you hear that. You hear that noise? You hear them coming. The Bros is going to be in Charlotte.
Oh, coming to my city.
We're taking over the Queen City. We're taking over Charlotte, the Grand Conclave for 2022. So if you're in the area, if you're in Charlotte, stop by. See the Wholesome Bros, which all Bros are wholesome, by the way. You know. Come through Charlotte, have a good time. I want to show this picture. Look at this guy in the front, man. He looks terrified, doesn't he?
He's like, oh Lord. Oh, Lord. Keep looking forward.
If somebody don't get me off this damn plane. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty funny picture, so I wanted to share it, guys. But yeah, 2022 Grand Conclave is going to be in Charlotte. We look forward to it. We're hoping to go out and have some fun. And before we move on, guys, once again, if you're not doing anything, September 3rd, 2022, our day party. Come out and kick it with us at Weldon Mills. We're going to be having that day party from 1 to 7. After party is at the Hilton Inn in Roanoke Rapids, Weldon area. Come on, stop on by and enjoy evening with the brothers. All right. Yeah. So last week, guys, we had a very serious conversation. People have been hitting us up. It was like we enjoyed the conversation. We enjoyed the knowledge. We started with P Valley, the young gentleman on the show. Unfortunately, took his own life due to stresses that he had in his life. We touched on some personal issues that we had within our own lives. We talked about the stresses that could be presented to other people. And we also had great comments, great conversation coming from guests about the subject. Can we recap on that? We talked about certain situations from ourselves and things like that. Is there anything that we want to recap, that we want to restate to the audience, to the listeners, to put back out there?
Well, I remember, again, agreed, very interesting, very informative, transparent conversation last week. We talked about our own struggles, and I want to just talk about how it may not seem like a lot for us to come forward, but I definitely applaud like Royal's story about the struggle she went through, and look at her now doing a lot of great things. So I think one thing I want to recap is no matter where you've been, it doesn't have to dictate where you're going. So I think that is something that I definitely want the audience and those of you who join us and support us to know, like, whatever is right now doesn't have to be after. And so Royal definitely showed us that. And then also, I know we talked about domestic violence and the ugly head of domestic violence. And I think, again, recapping, if you're in a situation, whether it is physically or in your mind, you don't have to stay stuck, right? I think the fear of moving on or the fear of making that next decision is so much worse than actually making that next decision or making that next move. The problem with fear, it paralyzes you because it doesn't want you to move forward. It wants you to stay there. And at least for me, because I did talk about my situation, the what ifs were far worse than what actually was. So that's definitely a recap. And I think that goes for all of the topics that we talked about, the depression portion and things of that nature.
I do want to piggyback off of that for 1 second, because don't get me wrong, domestic violence is wrong on both ends of the spectrum, whether it's a male or a female that's issuing out the abuse or anything like that. But to hear our ladies talk about the situations that they've been through, and to hear it out in the communities, I was flabbergasted, and I was shocked that, these numbers are pointing that more times than not, women have experienced some type of domestic violence or some type of abuse, and that was just shocking. It got me a little emotional up here. We got to do better as we got to do better as a people. We got to do better. We just got to do better. Period. But I present the question with all of these woes, all of these stresses and everything like that, including myself. I have stresses. I've been to dark places and things like that. And I've talked to people, and I remember presenting the question on the panel. What if you feel like you're not talking to somebody just isn't good enough? Talking to that strong friend just isn't good enough. And sometimes I even said to my wife sometimes, hey, therapy don't work. Therapy isn't going to work. So guys, tonight we have someone to help us answer questions about stresses. We have someone to answer that question. Does therapy work? How can we get to therapy? What is the purpose of therapy? We have someone here to help us get to the bottom line. She is the CEO and founder of Purpose and Peace Therapeutic Care, PLLC. She welcomes you to the Therapeutic PLLC. She strives to assist you with finding your purpose and living peacefully. Her mission is to help you know and discover your purpose and to guide you in finding what brings you peace. Her goal is to help you live in peace and work with purpose. In finding a purpose, she wants to help you discover the reason for which you were created. In walking in peace, her hope is that you can live free from any disturbance of your tranquility. She aims to provide care that meets your needs and helps you achieve your goals, that drives to help you restore your health and mindset and heal from past experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Areina Adams.
Okay.
Welcome
I got hype right there, boy. She gets busy.
That was a wonderful introduction. And I think that's the first time I've ever been announced in that way. So thank you, Cornelius.
We thank you for coming on. We thank you for taking the time to come on and be a part of the Good Guy Experience. We thank you. We thank you.
Of course.
How has your week been, Queen?
It has been very fulfilling, actually.
Okay.
It's full. It was full. It was busy, but it was fulfilling. So it's been good.
Okay. So I know I gave the introduction. Is there anything extra? Is there anything else you want to let the people know about your practice or anything that you do or anything like that, or contact information or anything? I'm going to play it across the banner, but is there anything that you want to relate to the listeners tonight before we get started?
Well, before I talk about myself, I just want to just applaud you guys for this platform. It was so refreshing last week to just know that there's this safe space that people can, like, so many people just felt open just to share, right? And you don't find that. People don't have that. And it's so sad because it makes people just shut down. So I really, really applaud you that you have this space that, you know, people can, there's anonymously or not, that they can just feel safe enough to just ask questions and tell their stories. So I do want to say that. I know it's hard. It's not easy for people to open up. So I truly applaud you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome.
At the bottom, we have contact information for Purpose and Peace Therapeutic Care, PLLC. That I'm hoping that is the correct number. Just want to make sure and verify.
That's it.
247-2832. 919-247-2832.
Yes.
Adams, I do have a question for somebody like myself. You know, going through the highs and lows of life. You know, lost my father, things like that. You know, this COVID pandemic hitting and everything like that. People may be going through health issues and things like that. People may be at a dark place. What would you say to somebody who is at that dark place? They've talked to the strong friend, and it's just still not working for them. They're at a place where they're like, nothing is going to help them. What would you give or advice for someone like that?
So first of all, that strong friend needs help too. Like, honestly. So you're dumping on that strong friend. I know that because I'm the strong friend. And I've had, just to be transparent, plenty of instances where I needed somewhere where I could just divvy it, like get it out. But because I'm the strong friend and I say, hey, need to talk, people are like, you fine. You know, and it's not until, you know, I'm in tears, right? And it's like, this was, you know, years ago. And then I realized, oh, I am the strong friend. And so people don't see, I call it, you know, my superwoman cape, right? It's on, but it might be looking nice and flowy on the outside, but on the inside, I'm underneath it crumbling, right? But all you see is my cape. So I tell my clients, it's okay, especially the women I work with, because, you know, women just carry so much. But I tell women, it's okay if your cape is wrinkled. And it's okay if people see the wrinkles in your cape. You don't always have to be pristine and put together, because, you know, people see that and they're like, oh, she's good. And then when you're not good, is, oh, you acting funny, or what's your problem? My problem is I need somebody to talk to, right? So that is why last week, you know, I did say therapy, and I was serious about that because therapy it's just different. And I'm not being biased because I am in the therapist chair. I also go to therapy, and I think that's very important. That even for a therapist, we need a spot, you know, where we can just kind of get it out, right? So therapy, that space, it's your trusting space, that it should feel non-judgmental. I will say there are some therapists who don't necessarily do that, but it should feel non-judgmental. It should feel very safe. It should feel like I can dump this stuff out and leave it right here and then go do the work, right? So I always tell people, give therapy a try. And like I said last week in the chat, you know, sometimes it takes a few therapists. It takes a few different therapists to go to until you find your right fit. And I hope this makes sense, but you can have a therapist that works for what you're going through in life today. And then in a year, that therapist is just not working for you and you need something different. And that's all about, you know, maybe they got you to a certain level and now you're ready for the next thing, right? So for instance, someone dealing with trauma, they may not jump in immediately talking about the trauma, you know, with their therapist. I've experienced this myself with my clients. I've worked with clients for a year, 2 years, and it's, you know, a year goes by and then they're like, okay, now I'm ready to go deep. It's a process, and you have to be willing to go through the process and be patient through the process and do the work in the process. So It may take some time, but I tell people, do not give up after that first therapist didn't work, right? So that's always going to be my answer, therapy.
And I'm glad you said that, because I went and saw a therapist, and some people, they do take time to open up, but me, I wear my heart on my sleeve. So the first therapist I had, I opened up. Well, see, when I was 5, I didn't, and I would just pour, and I just didn't. I felt like that particular person was just trying to get me to the next sentence, to try to get the 30 minutes or whatever, however time it was over, and I just got a bad first impression about it. To hear you say that sometimes even after you get success, that you may have to change even after that success, maybe a year later or something like that. Okay, maybe I might want to rethink therapy. I mean, because like I said, I was, therapy's not going to work for me. This person, they were just trying to rush me off my phone and get my money, to be honest, to tell you the truth. That's what I thought it was. But I had
some of them are like that. I'm not even going front. There are some out there like that. So if you felt that, you may not have been wrong about that. There are some like that.
So does therapy give you answers or guidance?
So it depends on your therapist, because there are some therapists who are just advice throwers, blah, blah. They're going to tell you what to do. There are some people who go to therapy just wanting to be told what to do. In my therapy room, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to guide you to find the tools inside, because what I would do and how I would handle it may not work for you. So me telling you what to do is doing it my way. But if I'm truly listening to you and understanding you and really getting to know you and what you're going through, then I can help to guide you and walk you through your skills that you already have and figure out what works for your life, right? So it depends. It really depends on the therapist. But for me, I am more of a guidance. And the way I describe it to my patients is I'll walk alongside of you. I'm not going to work harder than you at all. I'm not going to be in front of you, pulling you. I'm not going to be behind you, pushing you. I'm going to walk right alongside of you. And as long as you're moving, I'm moving with you. And when you stop, I'm stopping, right? So it's really about, just helping you to find your inner strength. Like seriously, and that's why my tagline is find your purpose, live in peace, because your purpose, I believe God gives everyone a purpose. I believe we all were created with a purpose, for a purpose. And I feel like you just need to take some time to dig and find your purpose, because once you find that, there is a sense of peace, there's a sense of tranquility. So that is what I do. I ask a lot of my clients, they know I'm the why person, because I will why them down to the why. Okay, why? And they like, that's what I came to you for, because I want to know why. Well, you here, we're going to figure out why together. Therapy is a team effort. It should not be, I'm not your coach telling you how to play. We're doing this together. We're working as a team. That's how I do my therapy. We work as a team. So I hope that made sense.
I want to remind everybody at home in the comments, please share your thoughts and everything like that. Ask your questions. Come on, be a part of the experience tonight. Be vocal. We want to hear from you tonight. Ms. Royal, was there anything that you wanted to add on, or anything that you wanted to present right now?
No, I just want to ask Ms. Adams a question. As being that we do have males on the show, in your experience, have you seen a challenge with acquiring male clients? And what has been your experience working with
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Yeah, so that's a good question too. I have found, especially working with my couples, right, or working with my families, that the men are usually the ones that are really apprehensive about going to therapy. I don't know if it's because, so many different reasons, right? I don't know if it's because maybe they just don't trust that space, or someone has made them feel, talking about your emotions, that you a punk, things like that. Or if you cry, that, you soft, things like that. So just that whole stigma around therapy, I think it's heavier on men, and specifically Black men. I will say, in our Black community, I'm telling you, it is tough. It is tough. It is really, really tough. But once they get in, I will say this, when a person finds a therapist who they can connect with, not just with their knowledge, but culturally, it's easier for them to open up, right? So that's been my experience with working with male clients. Is sometimes male clients seek another male therapist. Black male clients want a Black male therapist, and there's not that many out there, right? Or they're there, but they're hard to find, right? Because, you know, I always say, and this is not to be negative, but the therapy, and it has always been like really whitewashed in the sense that that's what you see. You know, they portray only white people go to therapy, or there's only white therapists. And we're like, there are so many. I am a part of probably about 4 different groups of clinicians of color. And it's a lot of us everywhere. And so with the men, though, they are a little bit apprehensive about opening up, you know, and what to talk about. But whenever I have a couple, you know, and I know that there are individual things going on, I recommend that both the man and the woman go to therapy. And most of the time, the man, it takes a little bit longer, but eventually he will go. And there has not been one time that I referred a male to go to therapy and he didn't stick with it or didn't find benefit out of it, right? So it's like, once you get in there and you get, you know, you find that trust in space and that trust in person, it's a completely different experience. So yeah, it's you know, I know that was a long way of getting around to the answer, but you know,
I actually wanted to, not to say what you're saying is not important, Areina, but I really wanted to hear from our men, because, you know, you're saying men experience this and that. What are some of the things in your circles, or even yourself as a man, do you think stop you guys or slow you down from speaking? I mean, I know you guys have someone you could go to, but, you know.
Yeah, well, I think for men, a lot of times it's just like trust, you know, because you get told just growing up that being emotional is not good as a man. It's that women are emotional. If you're emotional, you're being like a woman. And most masculine men, the last thing you want is to be seen as being like a woman. You know, so it's just, and you just get it's ingrained in you. Like, they kind of beat the emotions out of us. Like, you know, you give you something to cry for. Like, you know, hey, you got to be a man. Like, suck it up. You know, so we get all that, you know, just kind of ringing out of us early. So when you talk about emotions as an adult, it's like, emotions, that's female. Like, I'm a man. Like, what are you talking about? You know, so it takes a while because, you know, I've been to therapy, and it's interesting because at first, as a man, you are kind of guarded. And I went through so I kind of got lucky. I went to therapy through the VA, which is normally kind of bad.
Yep.
It's really bad. Mostly somebody jumps on and is like, hey, you got anxiety, that sucks, whatever, give you some pills, see you later. And but I actually ended up getting a pretty good therapist. I had 2 that sucked, and then one person showed up, and I was like, okay, what's up? You got give me pills. But this gentleman was actually a really good actual therapist, and was actually like, you know, helping me out and actually kind of cared and was like really, really good, and still working with him now to this day. So I just got lucky because normally the VA, you're not getting a good therapist. It ain't gonna happen. They're gonna give you some pills and be like, let's see you later.
Yeah.
My thing, well, you know, I'm always different. I'm always weird. I never had a problem.
You are special. Don't call yourself weird.
I'm like, not
and
weird.
Actually, Noah, you know what? Weird is not bad. So if you want to be weird, be weird. You're unique. God made you that way. If you're weird, then you are weird, and that is that.
You heard it first. Cornelius Witherspoon is special, everybody. I'm special. But I've always been different in a sense. I wear my heart on my sleeve. So much to the point where I did something that I shouldn't have done. I went to Facebook with all my problems. I would go out, I would lash out, and I would, no, the world is against me. And people would just, bruh, chill out. My issue has never been so much of opening up. My issue has been if I'm making any sense, if anybody could understand me. When I would talk to people, the questions that I have, no one has been able to answer just yet. Now, what I'm saying is my questions are more of a why. Why are these things happening? What's going on? Why is this? Why do I get to go through this? And this person over here that's smoking crack is living their best life on vacation. And nobody's been able to get me that answer. But people, and there's nothing wrong with the Bible. I love the Bible. I'm a Christian man. Yes, I am. But when somebody gives me a scripture, it's like, but that's not really helping me, if I'm making sense. So my question is, nobody's been able to answer the why. I would always ask, well, why? Why did my father have to die? Or why do I have to deal with this while this person over here smokes 50 cigarettes a day and perfectly fine? So I don't know what I'm asking here, but from my point of view, these are questions that really can't be answered, can they? Or
they can't. But what's the bigger purpose? If when you find out the why, then what?
That's exactly what I ask my clients. You want to know the answer to these questions. What are you going to do with that information? Is that information you're using is it going to help move you forward? Or is it going to take you backwards? Or you just want to know just to know? You know what I'm saying? So I always ask people that, what are you doing with that information? And they go, you know what? And I'll even say, if you found out that information, how would it change anything about your situation? If you knew why your father had to die, how would that change any way that you're thinking anything about the situation? What do you need to know that answer for? Will it bring you peace just to know that answer? Or will it make you feel worse? Or will it just, you're like, okay.
Well, I also think that the why, and I'm not you, Areina, but just from myself, I think the why is what is the passport that keeps us in the rabbit hole of the depression or the anxiety. It keeps us there because we're like, gotta keep finding the answer, gotta keep finding the answer, gotta keep finding the answer. But in actuality, the answer is just going to create another question. Because even if I gave you the answer to why your father had to pass, but then why my father? Why not her father? That's what I'm saying. It is the rabbit. And I'm telling you, I learned earlier in life, like, okay, well, I got the answer, but I have another question. And then I get that answer and I have another question. So I get it though, Cornelius. I get it. I think the difference, because I know we say about men, and I think culturally and just life experience, I think the difference with me, I've all the stories I've told you, I've never been to therapy. Nana once, not even thought about it, being real with you to that point. And I think for me, consistency has never been there for me because
appreciate you, doggy.
Because my experience.
Sorry about that.
You're fine. That trust comes with consistency, and finding that consistent person, whether it be therapy or the strong friend, I have not. And I'm just being honest. That doesn't mean that when I interact with people and I hear their story, it's not therapeutic. I just know it's not the answer. I know it's not. So,
and sometimes with therapy also, you got to be ready for it. Right. So I tell people that all the time, right? You might be like, I need to go to therapy. I need to go to therapy. And you get there and you're not ready. You're not ready to do the work. You're not ready to dig and I say peel the onion. You're not ready, but you have a desire to be there. But once that first touchy topic happens, you're like, ooh, I'm not ready to go there. And a therapist who is paying attention will see that. So I see that in patients sometimes and I'll say, oh, what just happened there, right? What just happened? I saw a little shift. Are you ready to talk about this? And they'll go, oh, you saw that? I saw it. Well, what did I do? Then we start getting into all of that, right? But are you ready? I ask people that in my intake, are you ready to do this? Are you ready to do the work, right? So it may not have worked, but you may also not have been ready.
I want to, in this pause right here, I want to read this right now because this sounds so familiar. Paralysis analysis.
Yep.
Sometimes we stay stuck in one place, frame of mind due to overthinking and overanalyzing. Yep. And I'm not going to lie. I know I'm not a therapist, but from my situation, that's what I think about, the same things over and over, that the why, and it's constant, and it drives me damn near insane, because it's the same thing from sun up to sundown, and it pretty much drives my day. So I'm glad that there's a name for it, paralysis analysis. Okay. Oh,
is
wow.
that even if you're busy, Cornelius, or just if you're in your free? Because what they call that idle mind is a whole different space. So is it just when you're idle mind? I'm curious.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I'm busy, when I'm at work and things like that, things occupy my mind. And then I go to the gym. But as soon as I get down and my mind is free, it's like somebody just went through and just knocked a whole crate of boxes. Everything
as busy as you can get. At some point, you're gonna be to yourself within your mind, and that's when these things can, that's when that can happen.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if it was like even when you're doing your thing, it's like the thoughts kind of go, on your shoulder. That's what I was asking.
Right. As soon as I sit down, like when I go and sit down and go to bed at night or something like that, it's like, hey man.
Hey man, guess what? Exactly. I've been here all day. You've been ignoring me. So let me tell you how I describe to my clients. I say, imagine a tornado, right? And it's just, you just see all the stuff. You see the cow, you see the truck, you see the barn. That's all them thoughts in your head as soon as you lay down, because you have not addressed them all day. I tell my clients, when that stuff is on your mind, right? It's so important. That self-care, I know we hear this all the time. Self-care is so important. And it's not just, I got one day out of the week where I just chill. No, you should be doing this throughout the day. These body scans, these self-checks. I tell people that all the time. Take a few moments during the day and just stop, right? Don't ignore what's up here. You have to address it, because, I tell people, welcome anxiety in, address it, because it's not going anywhere. So people come to therapy and they're like, I want to learn how to stop having anxiety. I'm like, well, you're in the wrong place. What you want to learn is how to cope when it happens.
Yeah.
Why would you say not stop?
My doc told me the same thing. Oh, you're a good therapist. Oh yeah.
Because it's a constant. I'm sorry. The picture.
I thought y'all going.
It's all right.
The reason I say, learn how to cope with it, because there may be different things that you encounter throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your month, whenever, that trigger that same anxious feeling. Mm-hmm. So when you're like, I just want this to stop, you have to know every single trigger that starts that anxiety, right? So, but you may address that today, and you may, all right, I handled that. I know what to do with this. But then next week, something else happened, and that same emotion comes up on you. Mm-hmm. So instead of saying, I just want to stop this, you want to learn to cope through it. I believe we all have some level of anxiety. We all have some level of sadness. We all deal with it in different ways. Mm-hmm. I feel like we normalize it. People hear it in a different way. Mm-hmm. But when it stays a stigma like, oh, you got anxiety, well, you got anxiety too. I'm sure you get worried and fearful about stuff. That's a level of anxiety. If we really want to pull out the DSM-5 and start busting out, definitions, right? So learning to cope when anxiety provoking situations happen is the goal I work on with my clients, because it can be multiple things that trigger that same feeling.
So with that particular point, Ms. Adams, I saw someone when Mr. Cornelius was talking about his experiences and feeling that anger and that anxiety when it starts rising, and having those questions of why, and those reoccurring thoughts. Someone in the chat had posted the reason why, the questions of why, is in order to find closure. So my question to you, love, is how do you, and I'm specifically addressing it to you. Yes. How do you help that person reach that point of closure? And I'm doing air quotes because you never reach a point of true closure. Exactly. But anyway, I'm sorry, love. Go ahead, baby.
No, I got you. I'm right there. Because I'm glad you brought that up, because when I saw that, I said, I hear it all the time. I'm seeking closure. Well, what does that even look like for you? How will you know when you have closure? And do you know what I hear every single time? I don't even know, because I never even thought about that. So you're working towards this picture of closure, and you don't even know what that looks like. So you working to get somewhere. I described this to somebody the other day. It's like being on a ladder, but the steps keep moving down and you're not going nowhere. Right? It's the same thing if you don't know what you're seeking. So for some people, closure may be, I just need to release from my spirit some things that maybe I never told that person before they died. Okay, so if that is closure, if you're seeking closure in that way, then maybe we have to do something like writing a letter. You know, I've done that with clients. And it takes time, though, to get to that point to want to write that letter. And it's actually, she wrote the letter, and we actually had a session outside, and she did a whole balloon release of this letter, right? So for her, that was closure. For other people, closure may not know what it looks like, or closure may be something that I want to know from that person why they did such and such and this and that. So you're seeking something that you're not ever going to get, because that person is no longer here, and that person can no longer give you that answer. So what are you truly seeking, right? That's why I say you got to go deep. It's so surface. It's so surface when we say closure and clarity. Yes, having an answer to why is going to give me some clarity about this situation, and maybe I'll find some closure. Okay, then what? Right? So like, okay, but what does that look like? What is this feeling? Some people are like, it's just a feeling. I'm looking for this feeling. Okay, so you're just going to keep going until this feeling happens. All right, let's process that. If that's where you are, I'm meeting where you are, right? So let's process that. What's that like for you? When have you, and that's when it just gets deeper. But I do believe that a lot of people are seeking closure in situations, but they don't know what that is or what it feels like.
Areina, would you say that sometimes the reason why therapy fails us is because we believe that therapy is a destination versus a journey? Like, it's just a process that happens versus we go, we have these 4 questions, we get the answer. Well, we think we get the answer and then move on. Would you say that's the reason why?
I think
one of the reasons why, sorry.
I think it is one of the reasons why. I think people just don't know what to expect from therapy. I think people are seeking something, like just something different than what they've been doing. I've done everything. Nothing has worked. So therapy has got to be the answer. I always ask my people when the very first day intake, what are your goals and expectations for counseling? Well, I never thought of that. Okay, so I need you to think about, what are your expectations for doing this work? What are you seeking to get out of this, right? And so when I hear the phrase, it just makes me cringe, the phrase, when therapy fails us or when therapy doesn't work. I think along the lines, like I said, it's a team effort. So when people say my therapist didn't do, my question is always, well, what work did you do, right? So you learn the skills in the therapy room, and the real work happens outside that room. So what are you doing in between your sessions? Some people just wait for therapy to do the work. And I'm gonna tell you, that don't work. You have to do the work outside. So I really do feel like people just don't know what to expect. I hate that TV and all of this has given this terrible impression of what therapy is, what it looks like, what it sounds like. It's just so ridiculous, the stigma that's out there about therapy. Somebody put in the chat that people say something about, I think she said mental health issues or something like that, right? When it comes to therapy. But that's the stigma. You can go to therapy for a check-in. You can go to therapy just because you don't have anybody else to talk to about your day-to-day stuff. Everybody who goes to therapy is not on pills, is not on drugs, is not schizophrenic, is not having panic attacks. Is not everybody who goes to therapy. People's issues are. It's different. It's different. And that's why therapy has to be person-centered. There's no cookie cutter stuff. It has to be person-centered. It has to apply to the client. It's just what it is. So, I tell people whenever they come in my space, I'm like, listen, if you're looking for textbook therapists, I'm not the one for you, because I'm not that person. I do the work with you as we go along. I know what's in the book, but I'm not going to sit here I don't have an agenda, right? So we have goals, we have a treatment plan, we have all of these things to talk about. But this is not about me. This is about you. You may be in here this week talking about, a coworker or something, and then that triggers another thought. And then next week you in here talking about, well, I remember when I was 5 years old and such and such, right? So it has to be person-centered, and people have to know what to expect. But when they have the wrong impression, it's more work for the therapist, for us, when we get people who come in and they have this terrible impression of what therapy should be.
What would you say to someone who said it's just easier to, and I'm sure they wouldn't say it this way, but let me think of a better way. It's expensive, and so it's easy if I just drink or smoke. And again, I know they want to say it that way.
Oh, no. Yes, they do too. Because I have had plenty say that to me. And you know what my response is? Oh, okay. So that's working for you. So how is that working for you? Right? How's that working out for you? So you're drinking, you're smoking, you're doing these things.
Yeah.
How is that working for you?
Like,
yes.
They even realize it's their, like, they come home in that quiet space that Cornelius was talking about. And it's like they sit for about 5 minutes. Oh, let me get up and get that beer, or those 4 beers.
You know why? Because that feels good in the moment. But when that wears off.
Right. That's exactly what I was. That's exactly what I was going to say, Miss Areina. I mean, you're absolutely right, because I've done that. Sometimes the pain, and you just like, look, I just need to numb the pain. And you go and grab that bottle. But the thing is, once you wake up, those ton of bricks are right there waiting on you. Like, what's up? Surprise! Boom. So,
and it's just like that too.
Hey, hey, I've been watching you sleep. I just been waiting for you to wake up.
We're here.
Hey, we here. What we doing? Right. So, yeah.
Well, I knew something. This was a while ago. I knew someone who, which I was telling the rest of you, that used sex the way that some people use.
Oh yeah.
And what it was is the never wanting to be alone, like could never be alone, always had to be with someone, always had to have someone there. But part of the reason was looking for that high, that the new person and the sex and the organ, whatever, the feeling accomplished, feeling manly, because dealing with those other feelings made him feel weak and insufficient. And so I've never in all of my life seen someone jump through women with no attachment at all, and then just be, it's just crazy. But that person ended up going to therapy, and it's just a different person. So I just think that's also something we don't notice that we do also to numb the pain. Or I would say that doesn't numb it, it distracts.
And here's the thing too, when it comes to, and that's when I say a completely different topic over there, when it comes to dealing with sex and jumping through people, that's some other stuff attached to that, right? So it's at some point in their life, that feeling that they get from sex, whether it's the adrenaline rush, whether it's that it just feels so good, at some point in their life, that happened before they even recognized that that was a thing, and it gave them this feeling. And then you go back to that, and you keep going back to that, and keep going back to that. So
so you're chasing that initial high, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And I think that came to mind when you said surface, because that was very surface. Even how that person identified love was very, it looks good, so it's good. It feels good, so it's love, but it was just really very temporary void fillers to the real issue.
And Miss Adams, you do, I'm sorry, I got caught by one of the comments. Lord have mercy, Mr. Shalaga, what in the world are we gonna do? We're gonna have to bring you on, just even if it's just for comedic relief. You are hilarious. Good God.
I can't wait to say that in one of my therapy sessions. Woo, that's gonna be so good. Oh, you mean when them toes curl? I can't wait.
and you do marriage counseling and things like that as well, correct?
Oh yeah. That's my specialty. I love working with couples and families. Like that is my thing.
So
and the more the merrier.
They don't have to be married. They can be in a relationship.
They can be in a relationship. I do premarital counseling. I do, and actually I do premarital counseling through my church. So I volunteer on our counseling team and I do the premarital classes there. But I also do premarital counseling in my sessions, in my therapy practice as well. I've worked with premarital, I've worked with married couples, I've worked with divorced couples, I've worked with them all. So it's fun to me. People think I'm crazy because it's so exciting. I get like, you want to talk about a high? Woo! I'm like, yes. How many family members? 7? This is wonderful. Like, that's me. I love it. I do.
Let me ask you this. I know you can't talk about specific cases or anything like that, but have you ever been in a session and these two people that are there, oh, we're so happy to jump in the gun, and you, in your mind, you like, Lord have mercy. This right here.
I say to them like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Y'all so happy. What are you here for?
Right.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Because you good. And then peel the onion. You like, oh, okay. Yeah. I've been in some situations where I'm like, okay, do I have to call the cops or like, oh yeah, it's been bad. Yeah, I'm like, okay, we need to separate. Ooh, or I'll do and that's like in person where I've had to like put one out the room. Or my virtual sessions. That was pretty scary, having a virtual session where the couple is like really sitting next to each other and they're literally arguing, and I'm sitting there like, somebody's gonna swing like right now. And that is where your clinical intuition has to be on point to know when to right. So, and I've had to like, okay, so we're gonna stop right now, and I need one of y'all to leave the room. And then that particular couple, I would have to tell them, if we're doing virtual sessions, you have to log on different devices in different rooms. Right? This is not going to work like this. Or I would meet with them, one for one part and the other one for the other part, and then just really being creative. But yeah, it gets wow.
Miss Adams, can I
I
ask you
guess them toes ain't curling in those sessions.
No, them toes ain't curling at all. But them fists is curling because they ready. I'm just like, no, we're not gonna fight, not today. But yes.
So Miss Adams, really quickly, if someone wanted to reach out to you for therapeutic support, because you have been phenomenal this evening. I have greatly appreciated your insight. And I can tell you would be the type of therapist I would come seek. So anyway, but
now are you asking for yourself or for a friend right now?
No, this is, I holler at you, girl. But for real, what and I don't know if this is the appropriate platform. So Mr. Cornelius, check me if I'm incorrect, okay?
Hold on. Hold on.
No.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
No, it's clean.
I'm gonna say that usually only comes on after I talk.
This is clean. So,
gotta put the disclaimer.
Yeah, it's clean. It's a question about insurance. So,
okay.
Do you have a sliding scale for individuals who do not have insurance? Because a lot of people don't understand or know that there are some therapists who.
Thank you, Katina. Go ahead.
There are some therapists who do, of course, have the traditional Medicaid, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, whatever your insurance is, but then they also have a sliding scale for those that don't have insurance. So do you subscribe to a sliding scale payment method? Yes, ma'am. Would you elaborate a little bit?
I do. So I do take, well, that's something I would talk to you individually about, because sometimes with sliding scale, I'm different.
Tricky. Right. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just different in the fact that it's to me, it's situational. You know what I'm saying? So but I do accept insurance right now. It's Cigna, Aetna, United, med costs. And then Blue Cross is coming. I do private pay also. And then I do out of network, and then of course the sliding scale. So, and then that is kind of, I talk to the person about, I don't have my sliding scale fees on my website, but I do have my other fees out there. Yes, but I did, I didn't want to, I'm glad you said that about payment, because Black Pearl did mention that earlier about, how therapy can be expensive, and that is a deterrent for a lot of people. Because, and I've worked with the Medicaid population, I've worked with the homeless population, I've worked with people with no insurance, and our job was just to get them insurance. Like, I've done it all. Like, I've done it, and so I do understand you have to make yourself available to everyone in some way. And if you truly care, I was just talking to my colleagues about this today. I value my therapeutic relationship over any dollar. Like, it's just not, if I know I can help you, and maybe you can't pay my full fee, but let's talk about this and what you can pay, we work something out. I also, on the other side of that, I know my worth and I know my value. So, a lot of therapists have, it's like this unspoken rule in the therapy world, kind of like, everybody has that little pro bono case.
Yes, ma'am.
Or maybe you keep open 2 spaces on your caseload that are pro bono or lower, sliding scale and different things like that. So
yes, ma'am.
It's situational, but yeah, I do that. I do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Basically, you'll help out, but don't play. Don't be playing games.
Don't play her. Don't play.
You can pay. Just come out in pockets and
what I'm gonna say is this.
I
have done nope, we don't do discounts.
Exactly.
We can negotiate, but this ain't no coupon clearance rack stuff here. But no, all jokes aside though, it depends. But it's something you have to know your worth. You have to know your value, right? I've done a lot of work to get to this place that I am. I've done a lot of work. Whew, I've done a lot of work. And so I know my worth and I know my value, which is why I am now my own practice owner, because I know my worth, right? Hello. And that's I'm not peacocking right now, but I honestly can say, and it took me years to even get to the point to say, I do know my worth, right? And my clients would tell me all the time. I had a client tell me she did not want to do, it was an issue with insurance. She did not want to do sliding scale because she said, I want to pay you what you're worth. I'd rather wait till my insurance issue is figured out instead of paying you less than you're worth. That touched my heart, because I'm like, wow, like a client said that, so people do think about that, and it feels good when people see your value and see your worth. I started my practice with a full caseload. So where I left, every single one of my patients came with me. It was 40 something patients. Wow. So I started full, whereas it was such a blessing to me that when I told my clients that I was starting my own practice, or that I was leaving the other practice, the only question they had was, can I go with you? And I was like, yeah. They was like, all right, say no more. Like, we'll talk about it later. Like, that was like everyone's response. Can I go with you? Because I like working with you, so these people literally followed me. And that was the most overwhelming experience that I've ever had, because it just showed me like, wow, all right, so I have found my purpose. And I thank God that he gave me every piece of skill that I have. And it just feels good to know that I'm doing what I love so much. And I love it so much that I don't even realize half the time how hard I'm working and what I'm doing and how I'm helping people. But it's just me. It's just what I do, So yeah, I'm sorry. I just got on a whole soapbox, but
no, you're fine.
I felt like I had to say that.
You've earned every bit of that soapbox. You've earned it. We're proud of you.
Well, I have one question for you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Have you worked with any like military members or former members of the military. That's something I talked about last time briefly. And,
well, yes, you're right, Katina. I love these comments. I have not. Well, I have one lady. I have one person. I've worked with military because I actually used to take TRICARE, and so I have worked with military personnel. I do know that sometimes it could be just so trauma focused and that PTSD, and I feel like there's certain people who are more effective. I should say, I don't want to say better, but more effective to focus on the military personnel. And I actually had a guy a new therapist who I was going to supervise, and his main focus is military. And I told him, I said, I don't think I'd be a good fit as your supervisor because I can't guide you from the military perspective, right? So they're out there.
It's different.
I could give you some referrals now. So, but I have worked with military personnel.
Well, I hate to stop the conversation. It's been so enlightening. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
To everybody at home, thank you for tuning in. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we definitely appreciate that. At this time, I want to go around and everybody present your final thoughts. We're going to start with you, Miss Royal Rain. Final thoughts for the evening.
Be victorious in your walk.
Be victorious in your walk. And I got to spice up because I'm sounding like the quiet storm up here. All right. I'm sorry. Mr. Chocolate. Mr. Chocolate's on you. Final thoughts for the evening.
I identify. No, I'm just kidding. My thing is, man, just one thing I learned is take the world in smaller chunks, life in smaller chunks, and for me it helps a lot. So it may help somebody else, man. Take little smaller chunks, man, and don't carry everybody else's monkey.
Miss Adams, is there any final thoughts you want to give to the people?
Well, one thing you asked me about contacting me, if you can put up my website, that's the best way to contact me, as well as my phone number.
Okay.
But my final words, of course, is my tagline: find your purpose, live in peace. I believe that.
Find your purpose, live in peace. Purpose and Peace Therapeutic Care, PLLC, 919-247-2832. Make sure you give her a call, guys. Black Pearl.
I'd like to remind everyone, if you have to choose between anything and your peace, always choose your peace. Fight for your peace like your life depended on it, because it does.
Choose your peace. Before we get out of here, whoever said this, I have a particular set of skills, and I will find it. but all jokes aside, guys, live your life one day at a time. You're not going to find the answers, every answer that you're looking for in one day. It takes time. It takes patience. Thank you, Miss Adams, for coming on. Because
thank you.
I was kind of giving up on therapy until I got your insight tonight.
We need to have a conversation, okay? I'll get you right. I'm not about to be a therapist, but I'll get you right.
There's a Rubik's Cube in here now.
I figured this.
Look, at least you only pointed one finger, not two.
Before we go, what is their website? What's the website,
Areina?
PurposeandPeaceTherapeuticCare.com.
PurposeandPeaceTherapeuticCare.com. PurposeandPeaceTherapeuticCare.com. Once again, this has been the Good Guy Experience. But experience is always good, guys. Everybody, if you would stay on after we log on. And I'm hoping everybody enjoyed the show. Good night and peace.